Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badaraganam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ गुकारस्त्वन्धकारो वै ऋकारस्तन्निवर्तकः अन्धकारनिरोधित्वात् गुरुरित्यभिधीयते। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। It is easier to find a needle in a haystack than to find a passage in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. The word Brihadaranyaka means huge forest, big forest, very, very aptly named due to the fact that things are extremely difficult to find. It is a wonderful medley of a whole host of things. There are upasanas, meaning meditations. There are various kinds of teachings in the form of dialogue. The teaching is always in the form of dialogue because this is not a belief-based system. You are the whole. Yes, I believe you. Oh, Swami. This is not what it is all about. It is something to be discovered, understood, and internalized. And in the process of this discovery and internalization, naturally, various questions arise, doubts arise, fears arise, resistances arise, and they all need an outlet. And so the Upanishad is always in the form of dialogues, where the student and the teacher are in dialogue with one another, and until the knowledge is completely, fully assimilated, understood. And so the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, like other Upanishads, has various dialogues, and where in many of them Yajnavalkya, a highly exalted sage, features prominently. So too here we have in the Antaryami-Brahmana portion that we are going to be studying, Yajnavalkya is the protagonist. Well, is he a student or is he a teacher? He is a teacher. He is a teacher, but a very interesting way in which he is sharing his knowledge. He is not sharing his knowledge under ideal situations of a student approaching the teacher reverentially and saying, Adhihi Bhagavo Brahma. Oh, revered teacher, please teach me about Brahman. Madartham Smara. Please remember how you were taught with the pedagogy and everything, and then unfold that for me. But it is more, in the form of a test. Yajnavalkya is asked certain questions, and he has to respond, and then and in the process he in his responses, through the course of his responses, he teaches, because that's the only thing to do. So it's not a classic teaching situation. It's more of in the form of the dialogue is in the form of a vada at first, which later turns into a samvada. What is this vada, samvada? Well, in the tradition, there are four kinds of dialogues that are recognized. That which you have with your friends is and equals is called vada. Shall we see a movie and then go to have dinner? And then the friend says, no, 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 let us have dinner first and then we'll go see a movie. This is vada. Then we have a special dialogue, a name which is the name Samvada, goes by the name Samvada, which is specifically referred to the conversation between a teacher and a student. Why? Uh, because of the prefix some. Some means a special kind of a vada. And what is this special vada? The special vada means it's a reverential dialogue, which is there for the sake of gaining clarity and clarification. And so it is not there to contend with the teacher, it is not there to test the teacher's knowledge. It's not a kind of dialogue in which the student is trying to see what makes the teacher tick. That is not conducive to gain this knowledge. And then, so this is samvada. Then, two other kinds of dialogues are talked about. And one is jalpa. Jalpa means, I have my own views and you have your own views. You air your own views and I air my own views, and there is no coming together. Unfortunately, this constitutes the bulk of a lot of interfaith dialogues. Everybody comes and then talks about their own religion and goes away. There is not any kind of even an attempt to connect, to learn, to learn from something other than one's own view. The attempt is not there. And so, therefore, this is the third kind of dialogue called jalpa. The fourth kind is reserved for the last because it is the most extreme. And what is that called? Jalpa. Jalpa means jalpa means a certain kind of a how to put it. Uh, Whatever I say is right because I said it, and whatever you say is wrong because you said it, and whatever you say is completely wrong. And obviously, it's a very kind of a hostile dialogue, if it can be even called dialogue. So, for the teaching situation, we need, what do we need? We need samvada. And the Upanishad is in the form of various samvadas so that we can learn from the Upanishad herself how to approach the teacher, what to ask, when to talk, and most importantly, when to not talk. All this we learn. And we learn, for example, in the Kathopanishad, young Nachiketa goes to Lord Yama. He is extremely persistent because Yama is very loquacious. Lord Yama, keeps going on various spin-offs and keeps going here, there, and likes to kind of wax eloquent about his own life and the choices he made. And Nachiketa is like, come back here. What about my third question? The third question about this Brahma Vidya, which I want, which is other than, which transcends all duality, other than what is considered good, dharma, other than what is considered bad, which transcends this dyad of good and bad, which transcends time, past, present, future, which is not something which is a product, which is not something created. Teach me that. And he keeps coming back to that, but very reverentially. He keeps Lord Yama on track. And so we see that. Then we see a very reverential dialogue again in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad with Maitreyi. the wife of sage Yagyavalkya, who, when approached by her spouse, uh, who declares that he is going away to take sannyasa, he is going to lead a life of a mendicant and repairing to the forest and leaving her with all his wealth. And then she has a very important question. Is the wealth that you're leaving behind going to get me what you are in search of, for which reason you are leaving? And since everything of yours you said belongs to me, half of yours belongs to, I am entitled to half of everything you own. So, and since this knowledge cannot be halved, you have to teach me the whole thing right here, right now. Again, a very playful and very, but at the same time, reverential dialogue. So here, these are all the typical dialogues that we are used to. Arjuna Krishna dialogue in the Bhagavad Gita. These are all the typical dialogues, and to a certain, even the Chandogya dialogue. What's his name? Shvetaketu, and his father Uddalaka. We are used to this kind of a dialogue where the one is recognizing oneself as a student and approaching the teacher with questions. The particular dialogue that we are about to enter into does not fall into the category that we are used to, but still it is a dialogue. It starts off in the form of a vada, a debate between equals, and then very clearly and very quickly it evolves into samvada. Because when the person who is challenged, in this case Yagyavalkya, when the person is challenged and when the person is put to the test, the words that come out of the person's mouth immediately command respect. And even though one is not looking for a teacher, one sees the teacher in the person that one just previously challenged. This is the greatness of the tradition. So if you lose in a vada, you have to become the other person's disciple. This is something that is, an unwritten, accepted rule. You tell the person, okay, I have surrendered and to you, which is a very beautiful thing in the tradition. And a couple of decades ago, maybe 15 years ago, I was in Taiwan, and at that time there was a great Zen master who is no more in the body, and I had the good fortune to meet him. I was representing some Hindu dharma in some inter-religious dialogue that was organized by them in their ashram, huge ashram, and his name was Master Sheng Yen. And listening to him talk was really a joy, because Zen is very close to Vedanta. And then, I said to him, it would be wonderful for me. I would just love to see you and Swami Dayananda ji, Pujya Swamiji, in a dialogue. I said this would give me great joy, because there would be so many meetings of the same mind and everything. And a very sweet smile passed his lips. He was a very humble person. And he said, yes, he said, it would be very beautiful, but I'm a little too old right now to be somebody else's disciple. And in that he said everything. His respect for Swamiji, and it was just so wonderful. What an apt, what a wonderful way of talking. Amazing. Without even the dialogue, he was ready to surrender. And he said it would just be inconvenient to become somebody else's disciple in this old age. And don't you think I'm too old? This is what he said. So this is the accepted, not, I'm citing this to show that it is kind of pan-Hindu. It is not just within the Hindu tradition, but even within the Buddhist tradition, this is established, this is accepted. And so what we see here is not a traditional samvada, but a vada that evolves into samvada. Because we find in the beginning the questioner, who is Uddalaka. And there are certain common personalities that keep arriving in the Upanishad. They keep visiting the Upanishads, various Upanishads. Like, is it the same Uddalaka that was studied in the Chandogya Upanishad? What is your understanding? Well, we have to wait and see. What is your guess? We have to wait and see. How do you guess? Because we see how, what is this, the Uddalaka is qualified by which word? Uddalaka is qualified by the word Arunihi. Arunasya apatyam puman, the son of Aruna. Then we say, ha ha, same fellow, because that was also the Uddalaka, the Chandogya Uddalaka. The Uddalaka from the Chandogya Upanishad is also from this same lineage, also the son of Aruni. But then, how many Arunis are there? Don't go there, okay? Yeah. Just be happy with the discovery that you saw some connection. This is nice. Don't go there. Is it the same Aruni? Whose son? Who was Aruni's son? All that is also given for the people who are interested in such things. One of the chapters of the Upanishad is devoted to totally unfolding various lineages. And after that, you have to keep one, what is that called, advil, okay, by the side, and a glass of water, and then start chanting the name of the lineages, because by the end of it, if you don't have a headache, you haven't read the lineages properly. Definitely. Why? Because there are so many Uddalakas, and this Uddalaka, yet another Uddalaka, whose son was this one and that one, and whose father was this one, and who came from this particular place. And it is just completely, you feel like you have come out of a washing machine. And so therefore, we don't really worry. I mean, okay, it is of the same lineage, that is good enough for us. So this Uddalaka, who is himself, is not an ordinary, roadside riffraff. This Uddalaka himself is very learned. He was the teacher in the Chandogya Upanishad. He teaches Shvetaketu. He is the one who teaches Tattvamasi, a very important, salient Mahavakya. He is the teacher of that. So he is not some other person. And he's not some roadside fellow who is just, who's a bystander and who is listening to what's happening and who is irreverent and who is questioning something. No. He has his own clout, he has his own ashram. And in the Chandogya Upanishad, this Uddalaka says, you know what he says? That there is not a single person in our lineage who is not a knower of Brahman, who doesn't have Brahma Vidya. Imagine this. Imagine what a great situation this is, what a great person he is. Then looks like there was some kind of a uh, slight unsaid rivalry between Uddalaka and some of the people that he represents. And then here he is questioning Yagyamalkya. And Yagyavalkya, in not in this particular Brahmana that we are studying, but in the previous Brahmana, had done something outrageous. What was that? Well, if you win the debate, then you are given some prize. The loser of the debate has to promise so many heads of cattle and so much land and everything, whatever it is, to the winner. This is again a rule, so that the price of the debate is already set. And in the previous Brahmana, what did Yagyavalkya do? Yagyavalkya came, he saw, and he was shown the manuscript in which it was written. Maybe 10,000, I'm just making this up, but 10,000 heads of cattle, let's say. 10,000 heads of cattle. And Yagyavalkya was so confident that he is going to prevail and win this Vada. He told his students, You don't go to the debate alone. You go with some people who'll say wah wah and clap for you and make you look good and all these things. So he had gone with a few students, and he tells the students, hey, you know what, by the time this debate is over, lot of things will, it'll be nightfall, and it will already be time to go to sleep, and the cows at that time will not be very cooperative, because they'll want to sit somewhere, chew the cud, be comfortable. And here you are pulling them and pulling them, they will not be very comfortable. Guess what? Lead the cows right now. Take them to my ashram. What? I mean, this is outrageous behavior. This is, beyond rude. What do you mean, lead the cows away? Well, he is that confident that he will win the debate. That, okay, why go? Yes, the cows don't have to remain here. I can go through the charade of winning the debate, which is already won in my mind, because I am the best. I know, east or west, I am the best. And so therefore there is, I can go through the charade. But then the cows will not cooperate. Lead them to the ashram just now. And the host, who was hosting the debate, was quiet, silent. He allowed this to happen, but a fact that Uddalaka has not forgotten. And so this is how the debate opens. The debate opens, in this particular way. So this is the dialogue between Uddalaka and few of the sages he represents, and Yagyavalkya, sage Yagyavalkya. But then it starts with a big bang. It doesn't start at, just with Uddalaka asking questions. It starts with a narrative. And in the Upanishad, a narrative or a story which is called Akhyayika is never, never, ever wasted. Never, ever wasted. The story has a meaning, the story has a significance, and the story has a certain purpose. And those some of those stories are, they have some general purpose. And let's talk about the general purpose of these stories before coming to the specific purpose. The general purpose of the Akhyayika is to engage the minds of the people, because immediately if you start, talking about how the atma is Brahman, then the people are not ready to listen to that. They want the knowledge, they have the yearning that we talked about yesterday. There is a sense of incompleteness, there is a sense of alienation, a notion of disconnection, and a notion of sorrow which is mistranslated into the ocean of sorrow. And of course everybody wants this knowledge, but people are at various levels of preparation, and they need to be brought to a certain place of readiness before the knowledge is given. The mind wanders. They haven't meditated, or they don't know perhaps how to meditate. There are so many distractions. So the first purpose of Akhyayika, or these stories, is to create an interest in the mind of the listener. Shrotra buddhi prarochanartham, to borrow Adi Shankara's words from the Bhashya of the Mundakopanishad. The opening Bhashya of the Mundakopanishad states this. Shrotra buddhi prarochanartham. So, in order to, prarochana means in order to make it interesting, so that the mind of the listener is intrigued. So, in this sense, the Akhyayika is very much like an appetizer of the meal. The appetizer whets the palate and makes you want more. Oh, that was very nice. Oh, wonder what the main dish will be like if this is the appetizer. That is the first purpose, is to bring everybody to the same place at the table, and to make everybody interested and wanting more. This is the general purpose. Then there are certain specific purposes of the Akhyayika, or these narratives that we have in the beginning of different sections of the Upanishad. And the second, and those purposes are very, very specific. Like in the Mundakopanishad, we have a Akhyayika of how this knowledge was given, how this knowledge was given. Like first Brahmaji, Lord Brahma, gave it to his eldest son Atharva, and Atharva gave it to his son, gave it to somebody, Angiras, and then Angiras gave it to somebody in the Bharadwaja clan whose name was Satyavaha, and then Satyavaha then gave it to another student who then became a guru, who was named Angiras. Actually, the first one was Angir, and then the second one was Angiras. And this Angiras, this guru, was approached by Shaunaka, who was a wonderful, very well, who had a wonderful and a prepared mind, a well prepared mind, and he was ready for this knowledge. So this is a particular Akhyayika. And what does this narration, what is the specific purpose of the narration? To show that this knowledge is come down from a sound lineage, and therefore it is not a cult. Therefore, one can feel safe that it is coming from Brahmaji, so it must be wonderful. It is coming from Bhagavan, the creator of the universe, and so it is valid, and so it has so the bona fides of this knowledge are very nicely put together and very nicely explained. And then Lord Brahmaji gave it to his eldest son. What do you give to your firstborn? You give your firstborn the best things in life, and you don't give your firstborn something, something terrible. And so therefore this, there is more trust and shraddha in this knowledge. And it talks about the very important fact that the Upanishad is handed down from generations of teachers to generations of students who then become teachers. This is the specific purpose. Then another general purpose of the narratives in the Upanishads, Akhyayikas, is that it is Brahma Vidya Stutyartham. Brahma Vidya, the knowledge of the self, the knowledge of Brahman, the self as Brahman, is to be praised. Because when it is praised alone, it becomes worthy of assimilation. And this, of course, this is something which people, I think, the Upanishad is a very good advertiser. So this, the current companies, the corporations have learnt all this from the Upanishad itself, have learnt advertising from the Upanishad. Come, come, buy this, buy that, and then you can have peace of mind. In fact, you can have the real thing. Real thing, really? I thought that's Brahman. No, 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 it is Coca-Cola. It is the whole phrase, the real thing, is appropriated by Coca-Cola. And in fact, if you say real thing, you have to pay royalty. Yeah, this is how it is, because after the word real thing, there is a little bit of there is a little C with a circle around it. It's copyrighted, registered, etc., etc., etc. So, and so all this is learned from the Upanishad. The Upanishad also advertises Brahma Vidya by making it, by promising what happens when you study this. The cessation of samsara, not a small thing. The cessation of samsara means the cessation of seeking. Really. Because if you ask every seeker, what do you want? Ultimately, is to stop seeking, to gain that which I am seeking. What are you seeking? And why is that which you are seeking keeping on shifting every minute of every day and every lifetime after lifetime after lifetime? There is no answer to that, but oh, please save me, free me from this seeking. The cessation of samsara, therefore, is the cessation of fear, therefore, is the cessation of all kinds of difficulties. is the cessation of any kind of doubt, despair, sorrow, and therefore it is extremely, this Brahma Vidya is advertised as such. Unlike the contemporary corporations, Upanishad does not misadvertise. It just says what it is. And then, and since Brahman is infinite, and since this Brahman being infinite is totally what, so that therefore, no matter how much stuti of Brahma Vidya is done, it is not enough because it is limitless. So, limitless stuti is not going to falsify it or make the Upanishad a liar. Never. So, this is another general purpose of Akhyayikas. Now, here we have an interesting Akhyayika, and I'm moving to the text now. So, if you want, you can open the text and look at this. And I see that there are some typos there because what happens sometimes is that when you convert something, at least for me, when I converted this into the PDF, some of the words got a little bit here and there, but then when I read it, you will understand, so it starts with the word atha. Atha means idanim, now, and atha also means what? Atha means the mangala suchaka. Atha means something auspicious is about to happen because Brahma Vidya is being unfolded. How wonderful! So, something very, very auspicious is going to happen. And what is that auspicious something going to happen? And that is indicated by the word Atha. It is said that when Brahmaji created this universe, so beautiful, so infallible, so wonderful, he said two words, Om, Atha, and therefore these two words are Mangalavachya. They are, Mangala Suchaka. They indicate an auspiciousness. So now, here it says, Atha ha enam. Ha enam uddalakaha arunihi papracha. We always catch hold of the verb papracha. It's a remote, it's a past perfect. And so what do we have? Asked. Prich, to ask. Papracha, asked. When? A long, long time ago. Asked. And then enam. Enam means Yajnavalkyam. This asked Yajnavalkya, which is not there because the next sentence itself starts with Yajnavalkya. Papracha. And who asked? Uddalakaha Arunihi. Uddalaka, the son of Aruni, it was his turn to question Yagyavalkya. A big selection of sages to grace the court of King Janaka is going on. Yagyavalkya is a contender, and then he is being questioned by various sages, including, Gargi and Uddalaka, etc. So now it is Uddalaka's turn, and then he says, what does he says? Yagyavalkya iti hovaha uvacha. He says, hey, Yagyavalkya, hey you, Yagyavalkya. And, he says, this is what he says. Hey, Yagyavalkya, what? Madreshu avasama. You know what? I'm recalling something. Says Uddalaka. In this Madra Pradesha, in this region called Madreshu, in this area, Avasama, when we lived there, Patanchalasya Kapyasya Griheshu Yagyam Adhiyanaha Tasyaha Asid Bharya Gandharva Grihita. This is going way off tangent, it looks like. Because He does not ask Yagyavalkya directly, hey, do you know Antaryami? Who is Antaryami? And I'm going to test you on your skill of Antaryami. First, try spelling it, and then try pronouncing it, and then tell me what it is. Then use it in a sentence. This is not something, he doesn't go, he doesn't go like that. It is not a direct approach. This is not Brahma Vidya spelling bee. Okay. And so this is not a direct approach. So he takes a very interesting and what seems to be a roundabout approach, which is very intriguing, and we'll see why. He takes a kind of a roundabout approach. And when we see the first line itself, it looks like, it is going completely off tangent. What is this that is going off tangent? Why we are going here? And it looks like this. What does he say? He said, long, long ago. Well, when, a long time ago, when we had, when we were in the Madra region, what did we do? We lived in the house of a sage called Patanchala Kapya, some descendant of Kapi, Kapi Gotra. Kapi Gotra doesn't mean monkey here, okay? Yeah. So it is a Gotra. It's not that he was an evolute of a monkey. Don't take it like that. So it is a name, it's a proper name. So Patanchala Kapya, from the line of Kapi. And what were we doing there? We were living in Madra in his house, studying the Shastra on how to do yajna. The know-how of yajna was being studied by us. Okay, so now we are wondering where the story is going. And I tell you, it goes to the most unlikely place ever thought about. Okay. And then what happens? Yajnam adhiyanaha. When we were studying this, what happened? Thus, then bharya asit. Bharya asit. And then, so his wife was there. He had a wife. Okay, why are we talking about the wife? I thought we were talking about Brahma Vidya. All right, maybe the wife knows something, or maybe the wife is a student. Well, the wife is grihita. Grihita means caught. From grah to catch to, and here we have to, when we translate elegantly, it means possessed. His wife was possessed by who? By a celestial being called Gandharva. Gandharvena grihita, Gandharva grihita. So, possessed by Gandharva. Oh no, why this? And how did this happen? Why is she possessed? And what is this got to do with our story? Well, it turns out that the first teacher who taught Yagyavalkya this knowledge of Antaryami-Brahmana is this Gandharva. Gandharva? Where is the Gandharva? Well, it appears to have entered the body of the wife. And then, how do you know it's a Gandharva? Well, that's easy. You just ask it, who are you? And then the Gandharva will say who it is. And this is exactly what happens. Tam aprichhama kosi iti. Who are you? We asked. And then what happened? Saha abravit. It is not sa abravit. It is saha abravit. A little bit of a gender bender here. They are asking the woman, but then they are thinking that they are assuming that the woman is possessed by a Gandharva who is male, and then asking, who are you? Saha abravit. And then the Gandharva, he replied, Kabandha Atharvanaha iti. Not an ordinary Gandharva. The son of Atharva. Who is the son of Atharva? We just said this earlier. We saw the son of Brahmaji is Atharva, and the son of Atharva is Kabandha. Kabandha Atharvanaha iti. So, not an ordinary, Gandharva from the lower rungs of heaven, perhaps just, out and about. I think I'll possess this unsuspecting lady today. That not that kind of a Gandharva, but a Gandharva that is a high level Gandharva who is the son of Atharva. And then this is, a lot of, when I saw this, a lot of questions flooded my mind. Well, the first question is, if this is such a high ranking exalted Gandharva, then the Gandharva would have already gained the knowledge. And a person who is fulfilled and gained the knowledge and then drops the body and dies away does not hang around to possess unsuspecting ladies, okay, or anybody for that matter. What is the purpose of this possession? There is no purpose of this possession at all. And in fact, the whole journey of Brahma Vidya is is a is a treatise in dispossession, not in possession. In fact, the whole time while you are alive, you are disabused of all notions, raga, dvesha. You practice vairagya, which is dispassion, which is manifest in dispossession and in a conscious dispossession of everything. And then here you are what, you gain this knowledge, you drop the body and then promptly possess the wife of another sage. Are you out of your mind? What is going on here? Well, no, 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 that explanation cannot stand. How can that explanation be valid? That explanation must not stand. Then what other explanation is there? Well, we can say that the Gandharva blessed the lady with knowledge and entered into her like Ishvara entering, into a person, so to speak, for the sake of blessing them with the knowledge. And then the lady started to talk. That could be another explanation. If that is the case, why was it not said right away? Because the word possession is something which one is afraid of. One doesn't want to be possessed. One wants to be in charge of oneself. One doesn't want to be possessed by anything other than one's own being. And so the word possession has pejorative connotations, very much so. So if that was the case, that Ishvara is blessing this woman with knowledge, then, the Upanishad would have perhaps said so. So, what is the third explanation? The third explanation is very interesting, because we find in India, especially in rural India, where women are not easily accorded a voice because of the patriarchal culture. Sometimes they get possessed, or they behave as though they are possessed by an important entity, and as long as they are possessed by an important entity, then other people listen to them. And I have seen this in so many villages. They will say, "Oh, this lady is possessed by such and such Bhagavan, or such and such something." And then when she's not as herself, and she talks in a male voice, this is not her. This is not, your roadside somebody, and this is your some amma in the village. No, she is possessed by Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is possessing her, and then she will tell what to do. She will tell people how to behave, and all these things. And then this phenomena has of women being possessed has been studied extensively by sociologists as an important perhaps a subconscious way of asserting their power in the society, having, asserting what is rightfully due to them. And this is something which is worth looking into, because this whole possession scenario is very, very interesting. Because if this lady, who is to remain nameless in the Upanishad, she is just seen as the bharya of this Patanjala Kapya. And then so this nameless woman, it's very interesting. The woman is nameless. The Gandharva she is possessed by has a name and a lineage. So interesting. And so this nameless woman, what kind, this itself shows a lot. This says this nameless woman, perhaps if she had said in her own voice, hey, you know what? I have been around Vada all this time, and I have been making soma juice for all the people engaged in the Vada. I have been making chai and giving out to all the men engaged in the Vada. I too have learned some things, and by being in association with all of you, and I have understood this. Who would like to debate me on this Antaryami, on the concept of this Brahman as Antaryami? Who would like to listen to me? Do you think anybody would listen to her? No, because the tradition has become increasingly patriarchal. And yes, there are voices. There is a Maitreyi here, a Gargi there. Yes, there is all kinds of voices, but they are few and far between. They are not the norm. They are not normative. What is normative is just, what is that, one sage, male sage after another. That is what is the norm. So therefore, for my, feeling here is that, in order to, she dawned on the avatara, she borrowed the avatara of this kabandha atharvana, in order to express all that she knew, in order to take the rightful seat at the table of the sages that were debating Brahma Vidya, so that she would know. Otherwise her husband perhaps would have never listened to her. This is my feeling. And so going on, so she actually, he in a male voice said, I am kabandha atharvanaha. And then further, continued. What did he say? Saha abravit patanchalam kapyam. And who did the, very interesting, who did the Gandharva address? There were all these people studying Yajna Shastra, they were students, there were other sages there, sitting there. But this addressed the husband. This lady, through the Gandharva's voice, addressed the husband. And how does it say here? Patanchalasya, no, Patanchalam Kapyam Yagyikamscha. So, and the people there assembled, what did he say? Vethanatutvam kapya. And then addressing the husband, directly says, don't you know? Do you know? Do you not know? Vethanu. Do you indeed know? What? Tat sutram. Do you know that thread, the string that connects everything together? What is this string? Tat sutram yena ayancha lokaha, where this world of forms and names, parascha lokaha, and other worlds that we do not know, the other world which will remain invisible to us. Sarvani cha bhutani sandribdhani bhavanti iti. Don't you know this? By that thread, that string, that great connector through which all this world and all the other worlds are as though, sandribdhani means woven together, interwoven, collected together, strung together. Do you know this? Vethanutvam. Do you know this? She asked the husband. If she had asked the husband in her own voice, perhaps the answer would have been more chai, go bring more chai for the people, or go warm up the ghee for the yajna. Perhaps that would have been the answer. But since she dawned on this avatara, and since Gandharva was possessing her, so then, what does Kapya say? The husband, Kapya, very reverentially says, you know, Naham tad Bhagavan Veda iti. He calls him Bhagavan. He calls his wife Bhagavan. Doesn't call the wife Bhagavan. Calls that being who he thinks is possessing the wife with respect. Hey Bhagavan, Naham Veda, na janami. I don't know who this is. I don't know. Who is this? Please tell me. Tell me who this is because I have no idea who this is. This is very unlikely he would have admitted this to his wife. He would have said, "Shut up, there is no such thing. Keep to your pots and pans or go do something. And don't bother because have you studied this? No, you haven't studied this, and how will you know this? You don't know this." And, uh, and then so here he says, I don't know. And in that word, in that address, the vocative case of Bhagavan, hey Bhagavan, na veda iti, naham tad veda. I don't know this. In that itself shows that he has the attitude of a student. And then, you know, then that Gandharva, the lady speaking as the Gandharva continues. Saha abravit, Saha abravit, what unto whom yagnikamscha patanchalam kapyamcha. So to he and all the people gathered there, and to the husband, but addressing the husband by name directly. वेत्थनुत्वं काप्य तम् अन्तर्यामिणं य इमं च लोकं परं च लोकं सर्वाणि च भूतानि यः अन्तरः यमयति इति. You see, it was very interesting. First, the word was sutra. Do you know that string which ties everything together, this world and the next? See, sutra means what here? What does it mean to tie the universe together? Tie means in the form of uniform laws. Do you know that? Because everywhere you go, gravity behaves in the same way. Wherever you go, even in outer space, there is gravity which behaves, the law of gravity behaves the same way. Which is why astrophysics can say, oh, here is a mass. And this is studying the gravitational force, they can say it is this big. And this is where it is situated. And they can judge the distance between that and then the other planet or other body that may be there. Even all this without seeing, they can infer. Very interesting. So, this is why, because the law of gravity behaves exactly the same, whether it's here, this loka, or another loka, or yet somewhere else. If you go to Mars, also it will behave the same way. Of course, it may be less or more. We are not talking of that. But it behaves in a predictable manner. There are certain laws that are common to the universe, which makes the universe useful, which makes the universe fit for transaction. Vyavaharya, fit for transaction. It makes the universe completely fit for transaction. And so, therefore, this is what is the sutra. There is something, there is an order here. There is a grand, great order that we are not aware of. Much like the pearls strung on a necklace, on a string. What you see is the necklace. Oh, You can touch the pearl. Freshwater pearl, saltwater pearl, Basra pearl. Basra is a place in India where pearls are famous. Basra pearl. Very nice. This pearl, that pearl, and you are appreciating the pearl, but nobody sees the string. What string? Where string? No string. The string is invisible. The string is taken for granted. The string is not present, as good as not present. And it's very fitting for this woman to be teaching this, because she too is like the string, invisible, keeping the whole Yagyashala together and being taken for granted. It's very appropriate that through her mouth we are gaining this teaching of the Atma as Brahman, which is oneself, which is not objectified like the string, which is not easily, the string is at least not easily visible. The Atma is completely invisible because it is not something that is a object of sight. This we discussed yesterday. So this is what it means to be strung together. Bhagavad Gita also says, Otam Protam Sutre Maniganaha Iva. And the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad makes a big thesis out of this whole stringing business. And it is there everywhere. Everywhere you look, it's all about connectivity, interconnection, interbeing. This being that goes in and through each and every name and form, animating things in its wake, by just merely its presence, and merely by lending its consciousness, its awareness, which is in the form of all knowledge, which is the whole. Just by its own presence it animates the entire universe. Like even a lamp lights up the a kind of a translucent surface, like a pot with holes, lights up the whole pot. And the light does not belong to the pot. What does the light belong to? The light is itself. It does not belong to the pot. It is itself, and the light lends its presence to the pot. Like this, there are many such examples. Tapta ayaf pindaha, the red hot iron ball. The iron is not hot. The heat is not the intrinsic property of iron, not at all. Neither is the redness nor the hotness. They are not the properties of iron. Then what is it here? What it is here is so lovely. It is borrowed from the fire, whose intrinsic property is heat and light. So neither the heat nor the light belong to the iron ball, but you associate the iron ball with the fire. You keep it in the fire for some time. See, everything else, you say melts, but when you talk of metals, you have to put a S in front of it, smelts. Yeah, so the metal, the iron smelts. And so when it comes to that almost melting point, you take it out and put it aside, you take it away from the fire. It is red and it is hot. So similarly, this sutra not only strings everything together, but gives the very being to all things that they are. Because the beauty of the necklace is because of the string. Let's say it's a graded necklace. We have small pearls here, and then as you come closer to the area which is seen, because the big pearls are not seen if it's behind the neck, as you come closer to the area that is visible, the pearls become bigger and bigger. There is a graded necklace. A graded necklace is born. And then, if you cut the string, what happens to all the size, carefully selected size of the pearls? All gone. They just all roll away. They do not have a being. There is no such thing called necklace. All that is there is the string. The string is the truth of the necklace. The necklace is a name and form here in this example, a very finite, limited example. Because this is the same way we can take apart the string also and say it is made up of fibers. But that's not the point. The point is we use the example as much as we can milk it. So the string here is there, and it's in fact the truth of the necklace is the string. When there is string, the necklace shines. When there is no string, the necklace is strung out, the pearls are strung out, because they are all out of the string, and they have no leg to even stand on. And there is no such thing called necklace without depending upon the string. And so, my dear Kapya, she's not even calling him husband or anything, she's just addressing him by the first name. In fact, he is calling her Bhagavan. My dear Kapya, hey Kapya, what? Do you know this string? He says, no, oh Lord, I don't know this string. Hey Kapya, another question. Do you know? Do you know? One more thing. Do you know? He says. What does she say here? Um, do you know that being who is called Antaryami? Antar, within. Yamin, the one who disciplines, who connects, who presides, who rules from within. The invisible ruler. Do you know that invisible ruler? Within means what? In the sense that it cannot be really seen without. It's just like the same thing. When you say within, it has to be taken metaphorically. If you take it literally, then we have the Hanumanji story. Hanumanji, when they were taken to Hanumanji and a few of his Vanara friends rode in the Pushpaka plain and went all the way to Ayodhya to because they were invited to witness the coronation of Lord Rama. And there, Mother Sita, Goddess Sita, was so happy with the services rendered by Hanumanji that she took her prize pearl necklace, very expensive, wonderful necklace, and very lovingly put it on the neck of Hanumanji. And what did Hanumanji do? Took it off immediately, bit into a pearl, cut into a pearl, and then looked, threw it away. Cut into the next pearl, looked, threw it away. Cut into the next pearl, looked, threw it away. And Lakshmana, who was very protective of Mother Sita, immediately drew his sword and said, "What are you doing? Hey, monkey!" This is the first time he called him monkey. "Hey, monkey! You're behaving like one. That is what I should call you. What are you doing? Mother Sita gives you a present which she held dear to her chest. It was adorning her heart, and now it is on your heart, and you are taking it apart." And he says, "Yes, I know. I know Mother Sita gave me something very expensive, but I'm very confused and puzzled. What is there to be confused about, and why are you breaking the pearls?" And he says, "Because I'm looking for Rama. I cut pearl number one with my teeth, and no Rama, threw it away. I broke pearl number two with my other set of teeth, other side of the mouth. No Rama, threw it away." And so this necklace is very boring. If all the pearls are going to be just like this without the presence of Rama, I don't want this necklace. I want to give it back. And of course, Sita and Rama were so, Mother Sita was so happy. And with this answer, Lord Rama gives Hanumanji a big hug. And this is really the meaning of Antaryami. Antastishtan is remaining within. Yamayati calls the shots, rules from within, disciplines from within, runs the show from within. But here, within cannot be taken literally. If you take apart a name and form, you don't see Antaryami saying, "Hello, here I am." No such thing. Why? Because the one you want to greet you, the one you want to say hello to you, is yourself. That self which cannot be objectified, that self which is there in everything. That is why it is within. Within doesn't mean literally you look and take apart every name and form like a toddler taking apart some toy which the parents gave. No, you won't find anything. What is there is that invisible, invisible because it has no name, no form in particular. It animates all names, brings to light all forms, brings to life all beings by simply lending its presence, which is infinite. It is infinitely Sat. Limitlessly Sat means present. Limitlessly Chit means all knowledge. It lends its very being, it lends its awareness, its sentience, its knowledge. How? Limitlessly so. So it's limitlessly present, limitlessly sentient, and limitlessly there. And then it animates the whole world of name and forms. Whatever you are in love with in the universe, you are not in love with the thing, but with the Antaryami. That is what is to be recognized through this dialogue. That is where we are going here. So, further, and then uh, sarvani bhutani. So, imam cha lokam, this loka, and then parancha lokam, the next loka, and all the beings, yaha antaraha yamayati iti. And then what does Kapya say? Kapya says, "Shut up, woman, I know all this." No. Kapya says, "Naham Bhagavan tad Veda." I don't know this. Tam Veda. Naham Bhagavan tam Veda. I don't know this, oh Lord. You see, this is kind of very nice because it's a socially acceptable way in those days of letting Kapya, the husband, be reverential, address the wife as Bhagavan. So it's a wonderful thing. We don't know who is great, whether she is great or he is great. He is great. They're all great, really. So the social lines of certain contemporary divisions of labor are not transcended, transgressed rather. They're kept in place because this is not about making a statement or some kind of a women's lib or movement or anything like that. And and perhaps in those days, like it is now in rural India, socially acceptable for women to be possessed by Bhagavan and so many other entities and have a say, a power in the village, in the household, in the community. And so too, in the same manner, it was acceptable for the man to acknowledge this and acknowledge the erudition of his own wife by acknowledging this Gandharva as an entity. A very interesting psychological exercise. This whole dialogue is very, very nice. So then what does Kapya say? Naham tam veda, he Bhagavan. And then again, he asks, Saha abravit patanchalam kapyam yagnikamscha yo vai tat kapya sutram vidyat tam cha antaryaminam iti sa brahmavit sa lokavit sa devavit sa vedavit sa bhutavit sa atmavit sarvavit iti. So now the effect or the consequences of having this knowledge is pointed out by the Gandharva presiding in the wife or as the wife. So the wife, having taken the persona of the Gandharva, now gives the Brahma Jnana Phalam, the knowledge of the what does the knowledge of this Antaryami as the truth of the universe, as the truth of oneself, what does it yield? Because after all, who is studying this Brahma Vidya? The human being. What kind of a human being? A very utilitarian human being. Because the human being does not do anything without a purpose. इसमें मुझे क्या मिलेगा, what will I get out of this is what is the everything, whatever you are asked to do, you will say, what will I get out of this? So much so that Adi Shankara in his erudition points out in the Bhagavad Gita bhashya that prayojanam anuddishya mandopi karmani na pravartate. So he says that without knowing the purpose, without having a goal in mind, nobody does anything, even the one that is developmentally challenged. Even the person who is developmentally challenged, here called Manda, someone who is dull, who's not very clear about one's priorities, and who has to be told the same thing 10 times, some kind of a unfortunate but developmental deficits are there. Let's say a person with a cognitive deficit is told to do something, even such a person will say, why should I do this? What will I get out of doing this? This is the natural human swabhava, for which the prayojana is given right in the start. This is a very beautiful way of, it's a typical way in which the Upanishad talks about, starts, because it starts with the prayojana up front and center. This is not an Agatha Christie book. There is nothing to discover that is not already there. And it's not like some who done it like at the end, who is the perpetrator. No such thing. There is nothing to discover. There is no mystery here. The mystery is that you don't know. That is the mystery. How is it that you don't know when the Atma is right there when it is you? That is what is the mystery, which is beyond explanation. Atma is not beyond explanation because it is you. There is a pedagogy through which it can be shared, it can be talked about, and it has been given for so many generations. And so the mystery is not how to know, how to know the Atma, or is there such an Atma. The mystery is how come you don't know the Atma. That is the mystery. And so the prayojana of knowing the Atma is stated so that there is a ruchi, there is a taste. This is the appetizer I was talking about. So the appetite for this Brahma Vidya is created. And so what does she say? She says, यो वै tat vidyat, he kapya, o kapya. Indeed, the one who knows this sutra, as what? As Antaryami. Sutyam vidyatcha Antaryaminam iti. As this one that moves around within everything, animates everything without being any one thing. That whole Satchidananda entity, the nameless, formless, infinite presence, which the consciousness, which animates everything, upon which everything depends, which does not depend on anything. When the person knows, what what does the person become? Saha Brahmavit. We have to add bhavati here. Sa Brahmavit bhavati. The person becomes Brahmavit, the knower of Brahman. Sa Lokavit. So if you are Brahmavit, do you also become automatically Lokavit? Yeah. It's like some kind of like we have so many, what is that, tears. We have tears of, not tears that flow, but tears, Tiers, tears of some, let's say, privileges. Like, for example, some membership privileges. If you are a silver member, you get a few things. And then if you're a gold member, what do you get? You get a few more things. But you also get everything that was part of the silver privileges of the silver membership. Then you are a diamond member, and then you get all the silver membership things, you get all the gold membership things, you get all the diamond membership things, and then finally you are a platinum member, and then you get everything, all the aforementioned things plus a few more things. And beyond the platinum member, there is no such thing. No such thing is there. So Brahmavit is like the ultimate, it's like the platinum tier of privileges and everything. And so then after that, naturally Lokavit, because that is like a silver membership. I know the Loka, big deal. But if you know the Loka without knowing Brahman, you don't know anything. If you know Brahman, you automatically know the Lokas. You become Lokavit. You know the Devas, you know the whole world of the celestials, you know the Vedas, Vedavit, you know the Bhutas, you know all the elements, and Atmavit, you know yourself, and in short, you are Sarvavit. And you see, this is a very beautiful way to to give this particular dialogue, because first she asked, do you know the sutra? What did he say? No, I don't know. Do you know Antaryami? No, I don't know. Do you know what happens when you know? When you know this, you become Brahmavit. So that means what? Kapya has been outed as not a Brahmavit. Kapya, by his own admission, is not a Brahmavit, which makes him very clearly eligible for this knowledge of Brahman, which makes him ready to sit down and learn what this Gandharva has to say. And then after that, we will come back to the quote unquote present time of Yagyavalkya and Uddalaka dialogue later on. So, for the main course this afternoon. So, this is just a little appetizer. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ. Thank you.